The 100 Years' War, a sprawling and complex conflict lasting from 1337 to 1453, was not a single, continuous 100-year battle, but rather a series of related conflicts between the House of Plantagenet, rulers of England, and the House of Valois, rulers of France, for control of the French throne. The roots of the war lay in the disputed succession to the French throne after the death of Charles IV of France in 1328, who died without a male heir, ending the direct Capetian line. Charles V had several sisters, and his closest male relative was Edward III of England, whose mother, Isabella of France, was Charles' sister or terror. According to English law, Edward III had a legitimate claim to the French throne through his mother, but French law, established by the Salic Law, prohibited succession through the female line. Philippe Viscount Valois, a nephew of Philip IV, was chosen as king by the French nobility, despite Edward III's claim, igniting simmering tensions between the two kingdoms. Edward III initially acknowledged Philip VI, but disputes over English holdings in Aquitaine, a duchy in southwestern France, escalated the conflict. Aquitaine was a valuable source of wine and commerce for England, and the French kings attempted to exert greater control over the region, leading to confrontations. The war formally began in 1337 when Edward III declared himself King of France, challenging Philip VI's legitimacy. The early phase of the war, 1337-1360, was marked by significant English victories, largely due to their superior military tactics and the longbow. The Battle of Sluys in 1340 was a decisive naval victory for England, granting them control of the English Channel and disrupting French shipping. The Battle of Crécy in 1346 was a crushing English victory on land, demonstrating the effectiveness of the English longbow against heavily armored French knights. The use of the longbow allowed English archers to fire rapidly and accurately at long ranges, effectively neutralizing the French knights' charge. The Black Death, 1348-1350, caused widespread death and disruption across Europe, temporarily halting the war as both sides struggled with the pandemic. The Battle of Poitiers in 1356 was another major English victory, resulting in the capture of King John II of France, further weakening the French position. The Treaty of Bretigny in 1360 granted England significant territorial gains in France, including Aquitaine and Calais, in exchange for Edward III renouncing his claim to the French throne. However, the treaty proved unsustainable, as French resistance continued and Charles V, John the Debas's successor, sought to regain lost territories. The second phase of the war, 1369 to 1415, saw a resurgence of French power under Charles V, who adopted a strategy of avoiding large-scale battles and relying on guerrilla warfare. The French adopted a scorched earth policy, draining the English supplies and forcing them to retreat, effectively reclaiming much of the territory lost in the Treaty of Bretigny. Bertrand du Guesclin, a skilled French commander, led a series of successful campaigns against the English, pushing them back and regaining control of key cities. By the end of this phase, the English had lost most of their territorial gains in France, and their position was severely weakened. The third phase of the war, 1415-1429, saw a dramatic resurgence of English fortunes under Henry V, who renewed the claim to the French throne. Henry V's invasion of France in 1415 culminated in the Battle of Agincourt, a stunning English victory against a much larger French army. The Battle of Agincourt was a testament to the effectiveness of the English longbow and the discipline of the English army. Henry V's subsequent victories led to the Treaty of Troyes in 1420, which recognized Henry V as heir to the French throne and effectively disinherited Charles VI's son, the Dauphin. However, Henry V's death in 1422 and the subsequent instability in both kingdoms created a new opportunity for French resistance. Joan of Arc, a peasant girl inspired by religious visions, emerged as a charismatic leader of the French resistance, rallying the French troops and inspiring them to fight. Joan of Arc lifted the siege of Orleans in 1429, a crucial victory that turned the tide of the war in favor of France. Joan of Arc's victories led to the coronation of Charles VII as King of France, further legitimizing his claim to the throne. However, Joan of Arc was captured by Burgundian forces in 1430 and was tried for heresy and witchcraft. She was condemned and burned at the stake in 1431, but her martyrdom inspired continued French resistance and ultimately contributed to their victory. The fourth and final phase of the war, 1435-1453, saw a gradual French recovery and the eventual expulsion of the English from France. French military reforms, including the creation of a professional army and the use of gunpowder weaponry, helped to overcome English advantages. The Battle of Castillon in 1453 was a decisive French victory that effectively ended the war, as the English lost their last major stronghold in France. The war had a profound impact on both England and France, leading to significant political, social, and economic changes. In England, the war contributed to the Wars of the Roses, a dynastic conflict between the houses of Lancaster and York. In France, the war helped to consolidate the power of the French monarchy and led to the development of a more centralized state. The 100 Years' War also saw the development of new military technologies and tactics, such as the longbow, gunpowder weaponry, and the use of professional armies. The war also fostered a sense of national identity in both England and France, as people began to identify more strongly with their respective kingdoms. The 100 Years' War remains a significant event in European history, shaping the political landscape and contributing to the development of modern nation-states.